Hello students, I am Shishpal Chauhan and this is the Canterville Ghost novel written by Oscar Wilde, and this is video 1 of 3. There will be 3 videos in all, and this is Oscar Wilde, picture of Oscar Wilde when he was in his young age. He was born on October 16, 1854, and he lived up to November 30 and 1900 in Ireland. He was born in Ireland. And his plays included A Woman of No Importance, An Ideal Husband, and The Importance of Being Earnest. These plays earned him name and fame and established Oscar Wilde as a playwright also. And this is the novel written by Oscar Wilde. He was a playwright also, he was a novelist also. What the novel is about, let me tell you let me give you a glimpse of the novel, what is there in the novel, in a nutshell, some impression about the novel. Mr. Hiram Biot is an American minister bought a house villa, a huge villa, right? Huge means very big in size. Villa is a cottage, those are found in farmhouses in countryside only. Villa maybe, it may be in city also, but usually villa is a huge house having gardens, parks, etc. And the name of that huge villa was Canterville. And Mr. Hiram B. Otis was an American priest, you can say priest, and he purchased that house from British Lord Canterville. Lord are people who belong to noble families, aristocratic families, and usually they are members of House of Lords. And there are 2 houses in Britain. One is the House of Commons and another is House of Lords, as we have in our country, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In Rajya Sabha, people are nominated people sit in the Rajya Sabha, and in the same manner in House of Lords, nominated people sit there. Elected members sit in Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha here, and in House of Commons in Britain, UK, United Kingdoms. So he was, Lord Canterville belonged to UK, and the name of the house was Canterville, and Mr. Hiram B. Otis purchased that house from him. And this was a haunted house in which the ghost of an ancestor of the Cantervilles lived for the last 300 years. And that was the haunted house. Haunted house means where people believe that ghosts usually appear. That may be called haunted house. And one of the ancestors of Cantervilles used to haunt. That ghost belonged to the ancestor of these Canterville family, you can say. And for the last 300 years, that his ghost is wandering about here and there in the house, that haunts that house. The ghost lives in that house in a way. As the Otis family shifted in the house, the ghost started terrifying the members of the family. And it was the nature of that ghost. He used to, later on admits that for his existence, to prove his existence, he has to do this. He has to walk about in corridors, he has to create some sounds, and he has to hit the chains in which he is there. He is wearing chains, very rusty types of chains, and he has to hit on those chains on the floor to create some horrible sound. So it is the nature of that ghost. That started terrifying the members of the family, but the members were not terrified. And the twins, but none was really terrified, and the twins, these are 2 youngest sons of Mr. Otis, started teasing the ghost who feels bad at the behavior of the Otis family. So these, let me tell you about the family. The family consists of, you may say, 4 children and 2 husband and wife. Mr. Otis, Mrs. Otis, and the elder son is Washington Otis, and then Virginia, girl, daughter of Mr. and Mr. Otis, and then after that the youngest sons, the twins, those were twins. So the ghost was very much teased by these youngest sons of Mr. Otis, and he was not happy with the behavior of Mr. Otis as well as of the sons, the ghost. At last, with the help of Virginia, the daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Otis, the ghost gets liberty from the punishment he had received from the angel of death. What was the punishment given to the ghost? Actually, he had killed his wife, murdered his wife in that very Canterville house where the family was living, and there was blood stain of that was spilled over the floor. And for that crime, and he must have committed so many other crimes also, because he was not a good person, and the angel of death closed its gate, and the portals of death, gates of death those were not opened for him. There was no entry for this Sir Simon for his crimes or sins, you may say. Therefore, he was punished to wander about here until he was relieved or released by Virginia, the daughter of Mrs. and Mr. Hiran Otis, and it was written on the window near the window of library that a girl would weep for him, a girl would pray for him, like that. Some verses in 6 lines were written. So he got punishment to remain in this mortal world, wander about in the house, and he was living in a way, he was passing the days of his punishment. He was undergoing the process of punishment, right? So that was the punishment, and Virginia, with the help of Virginia, he gets liberty. Let's begin the first chapter now. Okay. The Canterville Ghost is a very interesting short novel by Oscar Wilde. The story takes place in a haunted house named Canterville, situated in countryside. This thing you already know. And what is countryside? Let me take you in countryside. This is countryside. This is the area that begins with after the outer side of city, that is away from city life, urban area, that is away from that, and you may find fields and factories sometimes on road also. So countryside is open area where you may find fresh air, and fields of crops are there, farmers are there, something like that, the countryside. In Mr. Hiran B. Otis, an American minister, bought that huge villa from a British Lord Canterville. Lord is aristocratic, a noble. Minister means a religious leader in certain Christian churches. We call them minister, but we may say priest here for our easiness. When Mr. Hiran B. Otis bought that house, everyone told him that the house was a haunted one. In the beginning of the deal, when the deal was being struck between these two persons, Mr. Hiran B. Otis and Lord Canterville, and Lord Canterville was a very honest person, he told plainly, simply, that the house is haunted one. It is called haunted one. The ghost appears in that house. He gave some testimony for that, proofs for that also. But Hiran didn't agree. He was adamant on purchasing that house. Everyone told him that the house was haunted. This was told to Mr. Hiran Otis. Even the owner of the house, Lord Canterville, had told him that fact before the deal. People also told Mr. Hira Otis that the house is haunted, and Mr. Canterville, Lord Canterville also told him, the owner of the house also told him that the house is haunted, so try not to purchase it. He had told Mr. Otis that the members of the family had not cared to live in the palace, in the place, since his granddaughter, the Duchess of Bolton, was frightened into a fit from which she never really recovered. Lord Canterville told her that his family is not living in that house since the day when his granddaughter, the Duchess of Bolton, was frightened into a fit, and that granddaughter didn't come out of that fit since that day. So nobody lives there. He also explained that she was frightened by two skeleton hands which were placed on her shoulders as she was dressing for dinner. That girl, Duchess of Bolton, was standing in front of the mirror. She was dressing herself and doing some makeup. Suddenly, she was lost in her dream or in her thoughts. Suddenly, from back, two skeleton hands are put on her shoulders, and those hands were cold as death itself, and she shuddered like that. All of a sudden, she saw a skeleton was standing, laughing. Teeth were looking as you, if you have seen the skull, teeth look as if they are laughing. So she went into a swoon, in a fit, and she didn't recover after that. Lord Canterville further told Mr. Otis that he thought in his duty to tell him about the ghost who haunted the villa. Lord Canterville told him plainly, simply, clearly that this was his duty. Sir, this is my duty to tell you about everything about this house, and afterwards you would come to know, and then you would blame me that Lord Canterville didn't tell you anything. So he told everything to him, thinking his duty. And ghost who haunted the villa, he told about that. Villa is a house usually in the countryside, and that the ghost was seen by several living members of his family. He gave proofs also that several members of his family saw that ghost. He also added that a cleric is a priest, member of the clergy of the parish area that comes under a priest. The Reverend Augustus Dampier had also seen the ghost. He forwarded another proof that the priest, reverend is a word for respect, showing respect, used in front of religious members. Reverend Augustus Dampier had also seen the ghost. He also put that proof in front of him. After that unfortunate accident occurred to Duchess, no one of their younger servants had the courage to stay with them, and after that Reverend Augustus saw the ghost, and then unfortunate accident occurred with the Duchess. Two skeleton hands were put on her shoulders, and she went into a fit. Sorry. And the servants had the courage. No younger servant had the courage to stay with them. So servants refused to stay in the house. He continued saying that his wife, Lady Canterville, often got disturbed in her sleep as some noise would come mysteriously from the corridor and the library. He also told Mr. Hiran B. Otis that his own wife, his wife also, Lady Canterville, also frightened in her sleep. She was disturbed in her sleep by some mysterious sounds. Those came from library side or some from corridors, and she could not sleep properly at night. Mr. Otis, the minister, was not scared. Scared means frightened at all by what he was informed. He was only smiling and was listening to Lord Canterville. He was not scared at all. And by the owner of the, whatever was told to him by the owner of the Canterville Chase. He answered the owner of the house that he would take the furniture and the ghost at a valuation. Then he said he belonged to modern country, didn't believe in these superstitions. Okay, I would take the ghost at valuation also. I would give you money for that. You may include in the whole price of the house, of the whole house. You can everything per furniture. You take in the valuation the ghost also. He said that he belonged to a modern country where they had everything that money could buy. He also said that he belonged to a modern country and didn't believe in superstition. He also told Miss Otis that if there had been such a thing as a ghost in Europe, they would allow them to live in their public museums or keep them on roads for shows. Another thing, funny thing he said, that if you think that there are so many ghosts in Europe, you may send them to America. They would take them in museums so that the children would see them and they would be entertained and they would be put on roads also for public show. He said in a very light mood. Lord Canterville again expressed his fear that the ghost existed there and also told him that since 1594 it always made its appearance before the death of any of his family members. He again told Mr. Otis that the ghost certainly lived there, and whenever somebody died in his family, Canterville family, there was appearance before the death of that person, appearance of the ghost. And in this way, the appearance of that ghost is ascribed to the death of the person in the family is related to, associated with the appearance of the ghost. So they think that that death might have been caused by the appearance of ghosts. But Mr. Otis was adamant not to believe in the very existence of any ghost. He was unwilling to believe. He was not willing. After that, one week passed and the deed was finalized. And at the close of the season, the minister and the family shifted to Canterville Chase. After this, Oscar Wilde introduces us to Mrs. Otis, who had been a celebrated New York belle. A belle is a beautiful and attractive woman. After that, the novelist Oscar Wilde introduces us to every member of the family. First comes the turn of Mrs. Otis. He says that she was a belle, New York belle, very beautiful and attractive lady at that time. She was still a very beautiful middle-aged woman with fine eyes and great profile. And in her middle age also, at present, she looks very beautiful and attractive. She had big eyes, fine eyes and great profile of her face. Then the writer tells us as to how many American ladies had adopted an appearance of chronic ill health on leaving their native land. After that, he tells us that American ladies, when they when they settle in another country, how they feel homesick and they develop a type of illness also. They did so under the impression that it was a form of European refinement. Without this, if they do not do this, then the people would think that she lacks in European refinement. They consider it, the illness is associated with European refinement, a quality of politeness and education. So here, first video of chapter 1 ends up here.